Welcome back to Friday Night Shop Talk. I'm here tonight with Vernon Kemp. He's a local known legend, I guess you could say, on the Harris chain. He's the man, the myth, the guy in the yellow bullet. He's one to be talked about. I know a lot of people have got a lot of questions tonight, I'm sure, about the Harris chain of links, Kissimmee chain. Vern's a pretty well known guy around these parts. We've been hanging out today here at the shop. It's been a pretty fun experience so far. He's told me some great stories today. You know, Vern goes through adversity every day with different things, and he's an inspiration to a lot of people. And so I thought it'd be a great idea to have him on. And I want to introduce everybody. Vernon Kemp, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
It's been quite a day so far.
Enjoyed it.
We put out a little teaser. We brought the People of Fishing podcast back. It's my personal podcast. You'll be able to find it on Chris Kingree Fishing on almost every channel. I'll upload it to YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and we'll put it on Facebook as well. I think it's a good one that I think a lot of people are going to enjoy. So that'll go live on Tuesday, just as we're getting ready to leave for ICAST. So there's a lot of new baits coming out this next week. There's a lot of new things happening in the industry. And, load up all your questions if you got any for Vern or me, myself, or we've got Hunter here moderating comments again, Ty on the video switcher. So and Ty was on last week, going over a lot of his fishing techniques and things he's learned over the years. And I think we got a lot of really good feedback on that. Ty works here at 44 Tackle, and he's one of our knowledgeable fishing guys for our local area. And Hunter Bland, you can find him at Hunter Bland Fishing.
What's up, guys?
He's our local boater safety advocate, Mr. Mustang, Mr. Life Preserver, PFD, however you call it. And I think it's time. Do we have any questions so far? Anybody loading in?
We got a bunch of people jumping in on Instagram. Rusty Reed, Skeeter, Joey Johnson, Tom Wells, Garrett, Steven, Dawson. So awesome stuff so far. So if you guys got questions, go ahead and send them in.
Awesome. Man, I got a bunch of guys on TikTok coming on here. Let me see. Let's see.
I'm glad y'all can keep up with all that. I have a hard time keeping up 2 screens on a graph.
Hey, you do pretty good with that 2 screens. But let's see. Todd Newman says, "What's going on?" It says everybody's getting ready to go to tournaments this weekend. That's kind of why we're doing this on Friday night. Some of the guys that are rigging and getting ready, and even if they want to put it on the background, I think it's a good little thing. Maybe it'll give them a couple ideas. And
absolutely.
So what's been going on over at the Harris chain lately? What have you been hearing? What have you been doing?
Well, I didn't get a chance to fish last weekend or the weekend before, but we did jump in the Wednesday evening tournament, and it's a 3-fish tournament. I had 3 that went just shy of 13 pounds. Took 16 to win, which was, the team had 3 5-pounders, one with a little over 5. It was a good bag of fish. And for a 3-hour tournament, it goes from anywhere from 16 to 21 pounds. And
that's a 3-fish tournament, though.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
And they fish from 5:30 to 9. It's a $40 entry. It's a good little tournament to jump in. It kind of breaks the week up for everybody.
Is that not crazy that sometimes we struggle to get 10 pounds to 12 pounds on a 5-fish tournament, and then you go out there that same exact day and you find out that night they turned on, and Eric Panzeroni comes in with 22 pounds for 3 fish?
Oh yeah. or he gets on them on Sunday or Saturday and comes in with 32.
Yeah, exactly.
You come in with 31, he's got 32 and a half.
Yep. No, it's nothing but surprises on that place. It's feast or famine sometimes, but it's always a very diverse fishery, between offshore and flipping, and depending on the times of year, it seems.
I'm actually sitting in a roundtable meeting on the 27th with FWC and 2 of the biologists that are monitoring and maintaining the Harris chain. So hopefully, we can kind of get the fisherman's version of what needs to happen with the Harris chain instead of just a bunch of pleasure boaters showing up. They complain about the hydrilla because they can't get their pontoon boat through it and all that. But they can drive around it just as easy as we can drive through it. So
Yep. Yeah, and I know that you've been a really big advocate for that, on Facebook, trying to get everybody to show up to the meetings, and I think
sure,
that's a really big part of it is that, a lot of times everybody wants to complain about it online, but nobody wants to actually show up
right.
when it's time to go speak at these town hall meetings that they
It's
do.
becoming a huge problem, and I think it's not only known just around the lakes now, but it's statewide.
Mhm.
I mean, you see that the destruction that's happened to the Okeechobee and to the Kissimmee River and what's going on with Kissimmee, and, the muck buildup down there. And, the Harris chain is a little different than any place like that. Is you can't draw the Harris chain down to scrape the bottom.
Yeah.
So, what is the plan for cleanup when the muck level gets to the point where it's just unbearable?
I haven't heard anything on that reservoir that they were supposedly making down there on the Kissimmee River down near Okeechobee.
I haven't heard anything either.
There was a bunch of press releases, but I hadn't heard any more updates on when that was happening
Yeah, I think
or
they were going to build one. They were trying to build one before, and they were going to try to build one after
Yep,
before they sent the water to the Everglades.
yep.
Maybe that'll work. Maybe it won't. I don't know.
I think before is definitely a big deal.
I think a lot of the answer is to, just cutting down on the use of the herbicide.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's when that dead plant matter hits the bottom, it's there, and then what some say like on Istapoga and stuff that a lot of life can't come back just because of the herbicides that have been used
Right.
are still in the mud or the muck that's on the bottom, and it won't actually allow good plant life to come back.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of our fisheries is grasses and
Now, I think a lot of people don't realize either.
oxygenation and
It doesn't matter if they're spraying at Lake Talquin
yep,
up north or if they're spraying in the Everglades or Okeechobee. It's all connected to the aquifer. And my fear is this is on our watch, and we've got an underwater river here that's being polluted daily from herbicides, pesticides, whether it be from Big Sugar or from water management spraying all the time.
hmm
And by the time we find out, hey, we have a toxic level here that's just non-returnable, it's too late.
yeah, absolutely,
So there's got to be, a different way. And, Texas Aquatics has shown us their deep water harvesters
yep,
on the Kissimmee chain and how they worked. And, from what I've seen, they worked very well.
yeah,
I've spoke with Jared Albright many times,
yep,
about the areas down there that they use the mechanical harvesting in, and actually been there after they've harvested and caught really good fish.
yep.
In the aftermath of that, rather than going in there and spraying it, that it worked out a lot better.
Yeah, on the Salapopka chain here, they use the harvesters a lot. They don't do as much spraying as they do elsewhere. Russo gets a lot of spray, but our local lakes, they do pretty well with the harvesting. Every now and then there'll be a spray boat out there, um, and it does get a little crazy sometimes with some of the stuff that they're spraying. I don't know why they have to go spray lily pads and trees and willow trees or whatever else. And
Well,
it's just,
according to the St. John's Water District and their bylaws, if there is one hyacinth in that patch of pads, they have to spray that entire patch
wow,
to kill any seedlings that might be in there,
wow.
according to their own bylaws,
I wish they'd just make
which is ridiculous.
I wish they'd just take hyacinths off a non-native list and just make it a thing. Because, like, a buddy of mine lives on a private lake that has some really big fish, and one thing about that lake is it's usually surrounded by hyacinths. Well, there's a little bit of hydrilla in there, but there was always lots of hyacinths, and you'd have the common problem of you'd go out in the morning, and then they'd lock it up when the hyacinths would move over with the wind and block off your canal so you can get back in. Um, but he said that they went in and actually, they started spraying the hyacinths up. Now the hydrilla has overgrown the whole lake, and you can't put a boat out because the hydrilla is fully grown because now there's no hyacinths to kill the hydrilla. Because the hyacinths will actually, with that floating back and forth, restrict the growth of the hydrilla in that lake.
Right.
And now that's all that cover is gone. Now it's just a big open place with a hydrilla mat across the whole thing, and the only time they can get out is if it rains to bring it up a foot.
Right. I know, a lot of people are busy with their jobs and hobbies and kids and things like that. But if you get a chance to voice your opinion at a local meeting, or you get a chance that you can come to a meeting and voice your opinion for it, and stand up for the fishermen and the waterways, you need to do that,
Yeah.
because every little voice helps make it a little bit louder, and maybe one day Tallahassee will hear us.
Absolutely.
So we got some great questions coming in. Taylor Green wants to know, he says, Vern is the crankbait legend. Give me your best suggestion for the Harris chain.
Oh boy.
I would have to say the biggest bag of bass that I ever caught on a crankbait on the Harris chain was on a 3/4 ounce fat-free shad. And it was almost 35 pounds. And it was in an old Bill Dance color that my wife picked up at a garage sale. She picked up an old tackle box that had it in there, and it was just a gray shad pattern.
Yeah.
One of the old original Bill Dance baits. And I think I ended up losing the bait on the river somewhere. But that was probably the best crankbait I ever had for the Harris chain. I cried when I lost it, but right now going, I would have to say it would probably be one of the DT series Rapalas.
So the what depths do you think you'd prefer, like different times of the year on the Harris chain?
Right now, we concentrate our efforts Wednesday night in 10 to 12 foot of water.
Mhm.
I would say another month, I would be looking at that 12 to 15 foot range.
Start going deeper as the water gets warmer.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think that's better for like grass fishing at that point, brush piles, or are you looking more towards like harder stuff like shell and um gravel and such?
They're going to be spread out a little bit on each.
Yeah.
It's going to be pick your poison. If you can find some good clean grass that hasn't been sprayed, it's going to have fish on it.
Yep.
And then if you might roll up on a shell bar that's actively loaded up with fish, or you might find some of the state dropped brush piles, or somebody's private brush pile that they've dropped.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of pick your poison on the Harris chain.
Yeah. Yeah. The the interesting thing about that place is it just seems like, that you can get like three different types of personalities on the way that people like to fish. And, you've got grass fishermen, you've got people that love offshore shell fishing, and then you got guys that want to go flip. And it's got a nice variety for
Yeah.
everything. What lake do you think right now is probably going to win most tournaments for most people like going out this weekend? Because I always feel like one lake on that place is usually the one that dictates,
Yeah, right now I'd have to say it would probably be Griffin or Dora.
yeah.
Most of the better bags now are coming out of Griffin or Dora.
Is there a reason for one or the other why they
Griffin-
kind of switch off or rotate like that?
They kind of take Griffin's got its own rotation
Mhm.
on the spraying, so it's got a lot more diversity as far as grass. Where the Harris chain, most of the eelgrass and stuff that was on the Harris side, the deeper water eelgrass and stuff like that was killed off. So most of your deep water grass on the Harris side is gone.
Mhm.
There is some grass in Beauclair, and there's some grass in Dora, some grass in Griffin. So you take the diversity of the grass that's in Griffin with the deeper water eelgrass, the coontail, the hydrilla, the shrimp grass, and I think you get that better feel over there for what's going to be on at that particular time, whether it's the eelgrass or the hydrilla.
Yep.
Where you really can't, you don't have that diversity on the other side.
I gotcha. Yeah, we've at what point in the year does Dead River ever play?
In the spring, and that's about it.
But I remember that there's times I've run into you in there. And
Oh, yeah.
I can't say I've ever.
You weren't the only one that noticed that, though, and over the years, there's been
Oh
most people
yeah,
notice it.
yeah.
It receives its fair share of pressure now.
Yep. No, I
And for there for a while, though, it was a good hidden secret.
Yeah, no, I usually now I remember many what was it, the Big Bass tournament. Every year we'd end up on the same spot, and I'd sit in my pads, and you'd sit in your eelgrass.
Yep.
And we'd go side by side, crap talking the whole time. I remember you telling me, "Hey, what? They're just specks hitting your bait in them pads. They ain't eating." And I hook one, and 3 or 4 pounder, and I'm like, "Nope, he's eating them specks." But
all a good time.
Oh yeah, no, it's a fun fishery.
So Ron Shakespeare has a great question. Can you share some mental tips for a tournament?
Oh boy,
Mental tips.
Man,
you got to play the game to your strong points. Confidence is probably 80% of it. If you don't believe in what you're doing, you probably don't need to be doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think mental tips as far as for me goes is just trying to shut everything out that I've heard between my truck and the boat. Because that tends to, or whatever I've seen on Facebook or whatever
Right.
I've, you see somebody come in that you saw fishing somewhere, and you've had this game plan in mind that you're going to go do, and you saw that guy hold up a 5-pounder in an area that you thought that may have had something going on with it, and you got to fight that urge to go chase that 5-pounder.
Might have been the only one there.
It may have been the only one there. Could have been a lone wolf, but you won't know. But yeah, it's I had a question on TikTok. It says what to do when it's the coldest.
The coldest. Are we talking springtime?
I don't know. It was
Winter, spring? I would have to say, and in Florida, cold water really affects these fish dramatically.
Mhm.
Cold fronts really affect them. You're going to get your daylight bite. Your first 45 minutes or an hour in your daylight bite right there is going to be probably your most productive. And then you're going to have to wait until later on in the afternoon for that sun to warm up a little bit before them fish become active again. So, a lipless bait or a jerk bait, suspended jerk bait is probably going to be your best bet on a cold bite.
Yep. The jerk bait's been a real big player lately. The mega bass, like we brought in mega bass this year. I've had some mega bass. I've got a pretty big mega bass box these days. I was lucky enough to get Glenn Brown's old box of mega bass after he passed, and I've still got almost all of those, and that was a good start to the collection. And he's the one that actually showed me exactly. You wouldn't think of him as a guy that threw jerk baits, but man, there's a lot of teeth marks on them things. I'm telling you.
CG Cato originally designed that mega, but that 110, and CG kind of broke off from mega bass years later and started Jackal. So if you can't find the mega bass versions of that, you can go to the Jackal's version, and it's competitive with the mega bass.
Yeah, I know there's been a few that try to take some claim that that they're just as good or whatnot, but man, I tell you,
Hard to beat the 110.
Caught a lot of fish on a 110.
So we got some more questions rolling in on Instagram. Steven Fishing says, my club from Jacksonville is having our club classic on Harris Chain late August. What would be key to target to help secure a win? And then Chase Burlow asked, what's one of your most productive big bass baits for the summer?
As far as a productive pattern to win, I would be looking for clean crisp hydrilla in 8 to 10 foot of water. And I would probably be targeting that with a mag speed worm, black or June bug. And as far as a big fish bait, I like to throw a lot of big swim baits, and I like to throw a lot of big glide baits. So, I mean, it's a 1 bite, 2 bite a day bait, and 50% of the time you hook up, 50% of the time you don't. So when you got the time to play with them, they're a lot of fun to play with, and it's very rewarding when you do get that tick.
Yeah, that's been something the glide baits I have not thrown enough of, and that's one thing I've been trying to get to the point of I just can't pick it up long enough. I'm
Yeah,
due.
it's a bait that's, you have to play to a select crowd with it.
Mhm.
And I actually, this year, actually bought me a Dremel and started messing with making my own. And so, it's been challenging.
Yeah, to get them to swim right.
Yeah, it's been challenging as far as getting them to swim right and get them weighted right. But I've got one that I think is a winner,
Mhm.
and I'll let you know at the end of the year what it has
The next
produced.
Mike Buka.
No, I don't think it's like that, but it's been so far. It's been good.
Right, right. So I think right now we've been getting a lot of rain and things like that. Now, when we were at the Harris Chain last weekend, it took 19 pounds to win our club tournament there for Citrus County Bassmasters. That's a solo club. And so it was about 19 pounds, and then second was 18 pounds, and third 15, and I had fourth with 13 and changed a little bit, almost 14. But those fish were all caught different ways too. I had mine offshore grass, and Griffin, which was interesting because there was no boats offshore in Griffin,
Really.
none. It was me and one other boat out there. It was crazy. But and that was one of those deals where you get on the grass patch and you find that sweet spot and catch 4 or 5 fish that are all decent size all at once, and then it's done.
Yeah.
But they were chewing, and then we went flipping, and I ended up catching, or actually my buddy ended up catching a 4.5, and we got a couple more flipping, and went back the other side. But and the other guys were on the other lakes; they weren't even on Griffin. So it's once again interesting how you can go do what you want in that
Yeah.
place sometimes.
Yeah, the versatility is definitely there.
Yeah, yeah. So we had talked a little earlier, and on our podcast episode will go out next Tuesday. But where do you see yourself schedule wise for you fish the Bassmaster Opens for a couple years now. Where do you see your schedule going for the rest of the year so that people can kind of follow along?
I have a surgical procedure that's coming up, hopefully in mid-August,
Mhm.
and then the recovery time from that should allow me to make the Open on Norman in September, and then we're just going to have to see if things materialize, if I'm going to continue to fish the Opens or if I'm just going to play with big fish in the state of Florida.
Right, right.
Maybe something will materialize, maybe it won't. I don't know. We'll just have to see where things go.
Yep. Chase the next biggest fish.
Yep. Like I said, I get into the big glide bait thing. Um, I have toyed with just chasing big bites for the year,
Mhm.
just to see how many double-digit fish you could catch, and then document each one. So I don't know. It's either we're going to do one of the two.
Yeah.
We're either going to chase the Opens or we're going to chase big fish.
Now I saw last time when we had our live last week, you commented that if you wanted to get your double digit fish, the bait of choice was, I believe, a mega dog or a large topwater bait
Over here.
over here.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, if you have clean water
Mhm.
and you can lock that big walking bait in your hand,
Yep.
she's going to come up and get it sooner or later that day. She's going to eat.
Yep. And
And
by the way, we are stocked back up on sexy dogs, mega dogs, all sizes, juniors. We just got all those back in this week. And, based on that recommendation, we've had a lot of people come in and start going that way and trying to.
that big fish is looking for one meal
Mhm.
as easily as possible, without exerting a bunch of energy.
Right.
Um, a bass is kind of lazy.
Mhm.
This time of the year, they don't want to chase much. That's why, you got an early morning bite or you got a late evening bite, things cool down a little bit. But heat of the day, if you can get one to come up and get a topwater bait, it's going to be a 4+, and you have a better chance. To me, you have a better shot at a double digit fish doing that in the middle of the day.
Right. Right. So when you fish a lot of crankbaits, I think a lot of people would be interested. What kind of setup do you use for your different styles of crankbaits? Like if you want to walk through like um if you use square bill, DT series, stuff like that. What do
I
you
don't
look
throw
for?
many square bills. About the only time I throw a square bill is January, February,
Mhm.
over top of some submerged grass. Um, a lot of the bomber stuff I like. A lot of the DT stuff I like. Uh, I like a lot of the 6 cents crankbaits that
Mhm.
they've got some really really nice baits. And I like to target that 6 to 14, 15 foot range, and I just progressively go deeper with the bait.
Absolutely.
But if I had to lock one bait in my hand in the state of Florida, it would probably be a Bomber 7A Fire Tiger.
Really?
Yep.
I remember the first time I ever fished St. John's River, that was a recommendation for the St. John's River.
Yep. It's a hot bait.
Yep. Yeah, the now why Fire Tiger? Is
Uh,
it a dirty water thing or do you think that because there's another person that actually caught me off guard with that exact bait. Um, Ray Trudeau was throwing that at one point.
old Ray.
Oh, Ray, he done
Ray's a good
that.
fisherman.
That was his limit getter when we stayed with him at one point.
Well, you gotta stop and think how a fish sees things.
Mhm.
And we'll use tarpon as an example.
Okay.
An adolescent tarpon doesn't see a lot of UV patterns, but as that fish progresses in its age, the UV cones start developing in his eyes, and he starts to see things in a UV light. So if you walk through your bait shop right now and take a UV flashlight, half of your baits are going to light up, half of them won't.
Right.
The baits that light up are the baits that I tend to lean towards.
Right. Right. Yeah, I know Tightline's UV. They've tried for several years to perfect that process and whatnot. And we carried them for a while on stuff. But I've noticed there's a like Rapala does a lot of UV stuff. Mainly for they do a lot of UV for saltwater more than freshwater, I
Right.
think. Um, but you've got some UV being used in soft plastics and things like that that are around as well. And I think they got the fish bomb spray
Hmm.
and some of the UV pure. What was it? What's the scent bait that we actually have it?
Like the bang.
We sell the heck out of it. Is the gel Procure? I don't know why I'm saying pure, but Procure. Yeah, that has they've got a version that's got UV in it as well, and the scent. So you think the UV? Let me knock everything over here. You think the UV is a key?
I
Like
think it's a player.
you think it provides more visibility or
I
more
do.
flash?
I think it provides more visibility.
I gotcha.
In a dirtier water,
Mhm.
not so much a clean water, but a dirtier water, which got a little bit of a stain to it,
Right,
I think it helps that fish feed considerably.
right, right. Do you think?
That and but you're able to see it a lot deeper.
Right.
So UV penetration is a lot greater than just straight light.
Yeah, so that it'll provide a better contrast to the bait for them at deeper levels too.
Correct.
So, do you think, like when you're fishing a crankbait, what what do you look for in line, rod action, things like the reels, reel retrieves?
I had a bunch of reels at one time that were just all different ratios, and they were just all over the place. And I just went with a 7 to 1,
Hmm.
and I made every reel in my box a 7 to 1.
I gotcha.
That way I don't have to think, okay, well, this is 6 3 to 1, or this is a 5 1 to 1. Everything in my box is 7 to 1. I throw most of my crankbaits on a 7 4 or a 7 9, and it's a medium fast. Um, I like a little bit more backbone than probably somebody would that
Hmm.
was fishing at least something that they're using a lot of glass in a rod. I like a lot more backbone, 'cause that way to me, that initial bite, the more you can bury those hooks right then, the better off you are.
Right.
Uh, and of course, it's like when Carrot Stick came out with those first really, really, really light rods.
Hmm.
my wife ran down and bought me one for my birthday, and I thought that was the greatest thing ever.
Yep.
And about the 5th 5-pounder that I jumped off, I laid it back down and picked up a rod that had a little bit of weight to it. And
Yeah.
to me, an analogy that would fit that better would be like it's trying to like hitting a baseball with a wiffle ball bat.
Mhm.
It's not going to go very far.
I
And I
gotcha.
think you need a little bit of weight to your rod and a little bit of backbone to get that hook set.
I gotcha.
Just my opinion.
And to keep them, well, to drive it, and then you want the tip to be able to,
Correct.
so they don't throw it.
Yep. And it's what you're comfortable with,
Mhm.
and that's what I've grown up with, that 7.4 or 7.9, and it's always been a medium medium heavy with a fast tip.
Yep.
And it served me well.
Now, do you like throwing you said a 7.4 or 7.9? You like the longer rods. Do you have specific like depth ranges you target with those longer rods?
The bigger crankbaits, or if we're up north throwing on a cleaner reservoir, Tennessee, TVA, or something like
Yeah.
that, then the longer rod serves me a lot better.
Right.
Florida, 7.4 is plenty for me.
Yep. Do you find that it's better for ripping grass and stuff like that because it's a little shorter and stiffer?
Yeah.
Than
Not as much tip.
Uh-oh. Brett Hobson commented on our Instagram there.
He's not allowed to comment.
I don't know if he's on the live. He commented on the post. Hopefully he gets on the live here in a second and starts blowing it up.
Hollywood.
He said the OG is on.
Hunter McPherson said a beetle spin is the ticket, and Bill Williams said that Fire Tiger does not work, Chris Kingree. And Bill also told us that he ate all of our potato chips.
We're going to drop Bill off at the old folks' home on the way home.
We ain't got no corn dogs left either.
Man, we're going to have to take that hat back from him.
Deborah Banka also said, great guest speaker, a wealth of knowledge.
Awesome. But we're going to have to go out there and beat Bill up later.
We're gonna have to take him to the grocery store to get us by some more
I
groceries.
know, right? He's gonna eat us out of house and home here.
I tell you what, if all the ice cream sandwiches are gone, we're in trouble.
Hey, we got a rule. You eat the ice cream sandwiches around here, you got to leave at least one for the person that bought them. That's the rule on everything. Either that or go replace them before they run out.
We finally brought him out in public. He ain't been out of jail in a while. He ain't had a good meal.
But man, and like I was saying earlier, the first time I met you, or I don't even know how I met you there, but we were I was going and looking for looking for a tournament, practicing, and ran into you on the Harris chain, flipping the same area. And somebody told me that, oh, well, he just whacked 30 pounds last weekend over at the Sunday tournament. I'm like, man, I don't know who he is. He's a yellow bullet. And they said, oh, that's Vern. You must be around him then.
I need to change the color of my boat.
I didn't catch crap that day. But yeah, no, it's you've been an inspiration with anything that you've gone through, watching on the the opens, and I really am a believer that you drive a lot of people to keep it going. And I think every time you walk out an open, I think everybody is proud to have you there.
Well, nobody likes it more than I do. And when the day comes when I won't be able to make it, it's just about the last nail in the coffin, because it's going to kill me.
Well, we're gonna have to get you on FaceTime and bring you out there, and you'll be coaching us for practice. But the interesting thing about the opens is like we were talking earlier, is the camaraderie that you build with people. And what was cool for me was when I first went was, you watch these guys on TV and you watch some of the guys, and it's great to be able to get around those guys and call those guys friends now. And
Sure.
It doesn't matter if you're a co-angler or boater or whatnot, or a fan even, you start showing up to those things on a regular basis. You're like everybody else, and we're all family. And, you got some really great guys out there too that, have unbelievable situations, whether they've come for nothing, sleeping in their truck in the church parking lot, to, going to, you got guys like Clay Dyer, awesome dude,
Yeah, Clay's an inspiration. hands down.
For sure.
I mean, for that man to be able to do what he does, my struggles are nothing compared to Clay.
Absolutely.
And he got a heart good as gold.
Yep. And he won't ask for nothing.
No.
He won't let nobody. I watched first. I think it was the second open I ever fished. He parked next to us, and he was friends with my boater, and his co-angler was there. And anybody that hasn't looked up Clay Dyer, look him up. And if you're having a bad day, no matter what you're doing, you will appreciate that guy is able to do. You cannot say no when you see that guy cast a reel. But he walks up, and his co-angler's like, "Hey man, you need me to help or whatever?" And he's like, No, I'm good. I'm good." He goes up there, gets his rod, starts rigging a rod, and he goes and starts tying his knot and goes cinch his knot down the line slip. And he looks at the guy. He goes, "Hey man, you need me a favor? Can you grab? I actually do need some help. Can you grab that line tight?" He's like, "I'm one arm short." And I'm like, "Dude, you are the coolest person I've ever met in my life. That
Yeah.
you can, keep joking and having fun, and dude drives a boat like an animal."
Oh yeah. I've been fortunate enough to become pretty good friends with Clay.
Yep.
Me and Clay talk back and forth. Both of us have some medical issues, and when you're down and out, Clay can put the words there to bring you back up.
Mm-hmm.
And like you say, just his daily trials and tributes are nothing compared to what we go through.
Absolutely.
And what we go through every day is simple life compared to Clay's life. And he is a true inspiration. And like you say, rigging a bait, or, I watched him flip a fish up on the deck
Mm-hmm.
with a rattle trap, and he was down there taking the hooks out with his lips.
Yep.
And I'm like, if that would have been me or you, that fish would jump 4 times, and we'd have one hook in the nose and one hook to the chin.
Yep.
And that fish never moved, and it was amazing.
Yep.
But yes, definitely an inspiration.
Yeah, and I think that with the amount of people growing in the sport, we've got new faces every tournament we go to. Every even local tournaments, we got a lot of younger guys getting in around here, and I'm telling you, they're whooping us.
Yeah,
these younger guys are absolutely whooping us.
Electronics.
No, these boys are going old school on a John boat.
Oh,
yeah, no. They're not. They don't have any fancy electronics. They're Lake Henderson locals, been fishing since they were 5 years old or less, and I tell you, like when we've launched the Wednesday nighters before, when they were a little bit younger, they'd be going out of their house as we were coming into their canals, and we should have taken that hint back then, that they knew something better than
right.
if they were leaving their canals, there was better water somewhere. But no, they're pretty good when it comes.
It's good to see that, though.
Oh man, and you know what? They come up, they joke around, they're respectful, they ask questions. Actually, one of them, Junior, he's one of them. He just asked that question. But and these kids are getting a taste of what it's like to compete with guys, and they're putting the smackdown on some guys that have been doing it a lot longer than they've been alive.
Yeah, I've been asked a bunch in the past. When we go to the opens, or when we're practicing and fishing an open, at the difference in the competitive level.
Mhm.
And it's not so much a difference in competitive level. It's still, the competitive level on an open to me is a Bassmaster Open is probably the hardest tournament to win.
Yeah.
You have inspiring pros that are dropping down. You've got guys that are from all over the country that are, great sticks that are there. You have the locals. It's a mix of everybody. And to have 250 boats on a body of water and everybody fish together, cooperate with one another. Somebody breaks down, somebody's over there, they're over there helping this person fix his stuff before the tournament. And the camaraderie in that group is just phenomenal.
Yep.
And, you see some of these smaller tournament trails where you got an argument in the parking lot about that was my grass patch and you're on it. If you can't fish together, if you can't play nice with others, go play by yourself.
Yeah.
To me, that commitment at that level is so much better, and just the friendly atmosphere is so much better to be around. I would rather fish 3 opens a year and not fish nothing else,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, well, and then the lead up to it too. You've got your 3 to 5 days of practice for most people, and you're constantly talking to people throughout the week, and
Yeah.
seeing people out at dinner and whatever else, and at the hotel in the parking lot, and it's a
How
whole
many times have
experience.
how many times have you sat down at the Flamingo or something
Yeah,
down there, and the sun goes down, we're still out in the parking lot at 10:03
yeah,
talking.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, or we're trying to figure out how to get the power to work.
Yeah, really.
Because everybody's overloaded the breaker. But yeah, no, that it's we, heck, I've seen at times, people break down in the line checking out, and there's a guy getting ready to go out, and they'll stop what they're doing to go help the boat next to them and skip their number just so
Yeah.
that they, can make sure somebody else got out because they had the tools necessary to get them
Yeah, I blowed a
fixed.
coil at Champlain.
Hmm.
I blowed a coil in line. I was like 25 boat numbers before mine, and Hollywood was fishing with me.
Yep.
John Cox towed us back to the ramp,
Yep.
missed his number. We got the service rep at the Mercury trailer, gave us the coil, and we had the coil changed out and back in the water, and I was only 2 boats late for
Wow.
missing my number.
From the last? Oh, from missing your number.
For missing my number.
Oh,
It was
wow.
quick.
That's crazy.
Unfortunately, 3 miles down the lake, we popped the motor, but at the beginning, everybody made it work.
Brett said that was the best day of fishing he's had.
He didn't see the mental breakdown I had after I dropped him off, but that was rough.
Yeah.
We was on some pretty good fish.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. The those service crews when we're gone are
Phenomenal.
absolutely top notch. I remember Parker at the Harris Chain, Parker Mott. He had an issue with his lower unit, and it was like something was watching over him that day because he had practiced all week, didn't have any issues. Decided last minute he was going to put in at the 27 ramp instead of Venetian. And on his way from 27, or no, you know what? He put it at Hickory, I think, instead of riding all the way around because he's closer on the Apopka side. And he got 3/4 of the way to the ramp and nuked the lower unit. Something went wrong. It was a brand new motor kind of deal, just freak incident. Stuff happens. And they had him, a buddy of ours, went up, got his truck, dropped his trailer in the water, put his boat up on the trailer, put it up to the service trailer, and like a NASCAR pit crew, they took that lower unit, took that thing off, swapped it back on, said, "Go break it in before you run." And he went and idled around and got up on pad a couple times, did whatever, and then came back and never even missed his boat number.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to take your hat off and salute those guys on the service trailers. They go through a lot.
And they don't ask for nothing
No.
on top of what they're, doing there.
And
I get it that they get paid to get there, but the work that they do is
very knowledgeable.
Is a thankless job.
And not just the Mercury guys or the Yamaha guys, but
Yep.
the Lowrance, Humminbird, the Garmin truck, all of them.
Yep.
All of them, they're phenomenal.
Yep, they're all and real knowledgeable, and they'll try to do whatever they can to make it work for you.
Sure.
But we have any more questions over there, Hunter?
Deborah Banka asked, Vern, what would you recommend to a college angler coming off the college trail? BFL, Toyota Series, or go back to the Opens? And then Taylor Marcel, Andrew, Steven Fishing, and Pete all said, "What's up, guys?"
What's up?
I would say coming off the college trail, that's going to depend on your schedule and what you can afford to do. I would probably dip my feet in the BFLs a little bit, and not sure if you want to enter that on you might want to play with the BFLs on a boater level and play with the Opens or something on that level as a non-boater for a year or two to see just exactly what the difference is. I kind of got thrown straight into the fire. I never got the back of the boat. I went straight into the opens, and I've had my teeth kicked in, but yet I've cut a few checks. So it's six one way, half a dozen other. But it's whatever you're going to feel comfortable with. If you're not comfortable jumping straight in as a captain, and maybe don't have the boating ability or whatever quite yet, then I would say give it a couple years on a non-boater side, and get that knowledge behind you.
I think it's a big part too to be able to, if you're fishing at a club level already, and I talk to some guys that that fish in the local clubs and stuff, or just jackpot tournaments or whatever, and they're like, you'll talk to them and they say, well, how do or should I fish the other stuff, whatever. I think I'm just gonna go as Coingler, this that. And one thing to realize about the different levels is you've got the BFLs, you've got Bass Nation, Florida Bass Nation, and you've got the ABAs. That would be probably the next thing above like a local club level, I guess.
Yep.
And in my opinion, if you're able to fish as a boater in a club, there's no reason to not jump in as a boater in the BFL
Right.
or an ABA or Florida Bass Nation,
Yeah, I agree with that.
because it's like a big club tournament.
Yep.
You've taken that 30 boat club tournament and made it 250 or 200 or 150. And all you've done is you've taken the same talent pool that you're fishing in and you're just expanding it just a little bit in the numbers. It's no different than going to the Lake County Sheriff's Department tournament. Any of those kind of bigger, Wolfsons, it's the same kind of deal. You're fishing with, you got the top 10%. That's always going to be the top 10% in there. And then you've got everybody else. But at the same time, you're challenging yourself, and there's nothing to fear by competition. Some guys say, "Oh, I'm just going to waste my money doing it and whatnot." Competition drives you to be better.
Yeah, you always want to fish up.
Absolutely.
If you're fishing down, you're not learning nothing. You always want to try to fish up. And if you have the opportunity to where you are comfortable and you can take a shot at an open, then I would suggest it, because it's been a very rewarding experience for me. I'm sure Chris would tell you the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've done it from both sides. I've been on the co-angler side, and now I'm on the boater side. And there's some days as a co-angler, I was like, man, I wish I could have made the decisions today. And there's sometimes that when I'm a boater and everything's going south, it should be easier to be a co-angler that day. Especially when the weather's rough, or you're spending more time worrying about your boat control than you are the fishing.
Yeah.
Try and decide if you need to be running or staying when it comes to weather, or the wind's picking up, or you've got somebody else's life in your hands, and you're worrying about a lot of things as a boater.
Yep.
But a BFL and Bass Nation ABAs is a great way for an less expensive version of that competition, and to hone those skills to know what to expect in a draw tournament. You get
And here's something else too. We look at Florida water and we think, man, the Okeechobee is a big lake, and it is a big lake, or Lake George, and the seriousness of a storm blowing up on that lake, where you take a 10-mile-an-hour south wind and you put it on Champlain.
we launched in.
I mean, if you want to practice for that, you go over to the inlet over there, going out in the Atlantic, and you practice going in out of the hollow inlet over there in your bass boat, because that's about what it's like.
Yep.
And you have to be comfortable with what you're doing. If you are not comfortable, then you probably don't need to be doing it. I mean, that's the way I've always looked at things, and I've jumped in things probably a little premature, but yet I wasn't uncomfortable doing it. So
Yep. It's the learning experience of getting to be an operator on a boat is far past, getting it up on pad, learn how to trim it out, throw the rooster tail, that whole deal. It's, knowing
night and day difference between Florida waters and upstate New York,
Absolutely.
or even some of the Tennessee
or,
waters,
or some of those waters that have barges and stuff that go through, or the big
Kentucky
yachts.
Lake
or-
Barkley, they can get downright nasty.
Yep. And then you got the opposite side with all the recreational traffic, like Lake Norman. You know,
Yeah.
that place looks like, oh, it's not that big a deal. You know, it's got all sorts of creek arms.
That
and
is
this and
the
that.
roughest lake I think I've ever been on from boat traffic. My gosh.
That place is a big washing machine, I guess you could say.
Those wakeboard boats, boy, and those surfing boats.
There's no way to read
Brutal.
it. There's no way to read the waves. It's not one direction that it's coming from. And I think every house on that lake standard issued a Mamba wakeboard boat.
Yeah, 24-foot with a dual ballast.
Yep, the digital wave control or weight control or whatever. They can decide if they want it to be a foot or 10 feet. It seems like almost.
Or you go to Smith Lake and you get in those canyons.
Yeah,
and, the waves come off the canyons. You get it twice as bad.
Yeah, reverbs. Yep,
a little more to it than just catching fish,
for sure.
We had a couple more good questions come in. Paul Jensen asked, which Harris Chain Lake do you have the most confidence on? And then James Green said, what is the best worm to drag on the Harris Chain in later summer?
I would say something in the 10-inch range in a June bug, later summer, or a green pumpkin. And what was the first question?
What lake on the Harris Chain do you have the most confidence on?
I spend the majority of my time in Big Lake Harrison just because when we moved to Florida in '85, my mom and dad had a house down in Yalaha. And, my dad and me would launch. We had a Champion at the time, and we would launch out of that little canal down there, and that's where we fished out of. So I spent, my growing up years from 15 on up on Big Harris.
Sean Blackston also says, hey, Chris.
Trap God in the house. Sean's a let's see, Maryland follower now. He was Virginia. Now he just graduated from Virginia Tech. We'll be seeing him. Hopefully we'll see him next Friday for my birthday. We may have to go live from the Mallet.
Yeah, for sure. So Taylor Marcel said, you guys come up and fish New York any? If so, what's your fave lake or river?
That's an interesting question. That's an interesting question because we will actually be on our way to New York next weekend. Hunter and I will. And I don't know. We've now fished. I know I've fished Champlain and Oneida, and you've fished probably way more than that.
I have fished Champlain, Oneida, and I have been on the St. Lawrence River. By far, the St. Lawrence River, hands down.
I think we're going to the river this time while we're up for Oneida, at least a day. I think
there's a little old place called Cape Vincent. Matter of fact, a lot of the elites were fishing around Cape Vincent today. You can stay at a place called the Bad Apple.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was $38 a night.
Oh boy,
for a twin bedroom.
I always get scared of those.
It's actually a really nice place.
Is it?
It's got a little eatery, sports bar up front. Got good food. And the boat ramps right at the end of the road.
Safe parking lot?
Yep.
Lots of boat parking?
Not a whole bunch. I think there's only like 8 rooms.
Oh, okay.
So there's not a whole bunch of parking, but it was easy. I mean, me and Nick, we went up there and we spent a day and a half up there. That place is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it's right at the mouth of Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay.
So you can fish the lake or you can fish the river.
Gotcha. So you can pull out the boat ramp, and if it's rolling 10 footers, you turn the other way.
Yeah, definitely. You better go on around the corner.
Yeah, exactly. I think Hunter's got another question here.
Stephen Fishing said he'll be stopping by 44 during his club classic. Looking forward to meeting you guys then or at ICAST. And then Taylor Marcel said that's awesome. He loves Oneida, Champlain, and the St. Lawrence have to be tied for him. He loves Erie, but you can only fish 3 out of 7 days because of the crazy wind. I think that's every place in New York.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I think, like, to your point, Vern, I think learning how to drive a boat in New York is completely different than anywhere else in the country.
For sure. We get it all the time. Every time, I know a lot of guys that come down from New York.
Panzeroni learned.
he did learn. He did.
When we got the first day there, they were there. Him and Hollywood drove straight through, and I stopped.
Mm-hmm.
I come inside that first island right there coming into the bay.
They drove straight through to Champlain?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Him and Hollywood were pulled up on the island, and it was like 9:30. I'm like, man, what are y'all taking a break already? And Eric was laying on the front deck, and Holly was laying on the back deck. And I rolled up there and said, "What are y'all doing? Taking a nap?" He says, "No, we're trying to dry out." And I said, "Trying to dry out?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "We ate 5 just getting to here." He was driving straight into them 4-footers, and I was like, "You can't do that."
Yeah, no, and it's interesting because, like, I remember I know several people that have moved down here from up north, and they're used to driving on those lakes and
Yeah.
fishing the Great Lakes and fishing, Champlain and where it gets rough. And, they go to Okeechobee and the wind blows 10 or 15 there, north or south. And everybody who's ever been on Okeechobee knows that 15 out of the north or south sucks. um, and when it blows 20 to 30 north or south, it's really bad. The difference, and those guys coming down from up north, they say, I've been up rough water my whole life. I've been up rough water my whole life. But the difference of a shallow lake rough water to a deep lake rough water is 2 different animals.
Yeah, you got, your wave height in say Champlain, you might have true 4 and 5 footers, but they're spaced so far apart that you can
15,
just
20
surf
feet
'em.
apart.
Here, you take a 15 or 20 mile an hour wind, and they're right on top of one another. So you just you're stacked.
It's like the difference of like regular rollers at a beach versus rip current.
Right.
And you've got these waves on Okeechobee that when they're 5-footers, they are up and they roll and they crash. And if you don't get over that thing before it's about to crash, you're going to have it crash on the bow of your
Going
boat.
through it
and
instead of over it.
You're going through it. But then the bad side is when you go over it, you got to make sure that bow is way up in the air and get ready to smack on the way down, because if you don't, you're going to spear the next one.
That's right. And up there, those 2 4-footers that they or 5-footers that they got up there, you can just surf through them.
Yeah.
They're far enough apart.
Man, my buddy Miles Berghoff, he when I fished with him in practice for that one, and he scared the crap out of me. And it wasn't that he was driving dangerous. He he had a trick that I didn't know about. And there was a big boat that came by, had a huge wake, and we were going to have to go straight across it. We were going to hit it straight on, and that boat was, coming this way. We were going that way.
Turn sideways.
So he is running straight towards the back of that boat wake. And all of a sudden he gets in the trough of the boat, makes a hard left turn towards the boat, and gets in the trough of that wake and heads about maybe 15 foot off the stern of that boat, and then swung a complete 90 out the other way and came in the trough and out the other trough.
You didn't get the wave time to build.
Yep. And just let the wave kind of like fade us out.
Yeah.
And we never touched that wake once.
Yeah.
And that was like a 3-4 foot wake coming off of a big yacht.
Yeah, you see, I'll roll up to them like that. And my boat's so light,
Yep.
I'll just kind of ease into it, and I'll take them sideways.
Yep.
And, you just kind of surf through them and
Yep.
straighten it back out and go.
Yep. But it was like a V almost. You hit the V of the wake, but I saw him going towards that boat, and I was like, what are you doing? And I'm like holding on going, oh my God, we're going to eat one right here.
Right.
And
so they used to run barges on the St. John's.
Yep.
And, you'd be behind that tugboat, and you got to go. And we got to get back to Palatka, and, times are burning. So you got to get around him. Well, everybody's, you got 15 boats behind that tugboat, scared to jump that wave.
Yep.
There's only one way to go, and you just ease up there and, kind of ease your way through it and go on.
I did that. So after knowing that, though, we ran into that same thing on Chickamauga when I was a boater, and I was just hauling, and a yacht cut right across the river, straight across the river. They were going from one bay to the next bay, and my co-angler saw it coming, and he was holding on and looking at me and looking back and look at me, and I did the same deal, and he was like, you could see him like getting ready to like lose it, and we just rolled on out of it, and he goes, "That's the craziest thing I think I've ever seen." But no, that's things that riding as a co-angler, you learn from other people and about driving a boat, and you hear some of these guys that break their stuff along the way, trying to ramrod it through things, and sometimes it's more about finesse than not doing 60 over 3 to 5 footers. You want to do 30 or
I used,
time
when
them out.
I was young, I used to have the old mentality, don't be scared, it can be repaired. Not no more.
Yeah, repairs are expensive and it takes too long.
It hurts nowadays.
Joe Campbell said, "What's up, Vernon?" And then
Old Joe Campbell.
Old Joe. I ain't seen Joe in a while.
Bob and James Green asked, "What was your best day ever and biggest bag ever in a tournament?" And Brett Hobson wants to know if you brought any of his mama's pies.
No, I did not.
Oh man,
we're
gonna have to ask more about that later.
My mom cooks all the baked goods for a restaurant up in Umatilla. It's called Fish and Chicks. She makes all the cakes and pies and stuff like that. So he got a taste of that one time, and I think that's been his favorite ever since. But what was the other question?
Best day ever on the water. People want to know.
On the Harris chain?
They want to know the biggest bag ever, the best
biggest
day
bag
ever on the water.
The biggest bag I ever caught was with Tom Green, and it was in August in a seniors tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And we started the morning. Tom told me he had some fish. I was working, and you had to have one person over 50 in the team. Tom was retired. He told me he had some fish that we had to lock through. And I was never one to lock through. I didn't want to waste the time locking through. So I was fished on the hair side to maximize my fishing time. So we went down there, and about my third cast, I caught one that weighed a little over 9. And he caught one about 6. And about 20 minutes later, I caught an 8. And we actually came in and didn't get a weight on that bag because the man weighing the fish, Mr. Foy Underwood, said that our fish were too big. And we had too many fish over 22 inches, and he throwed them all back. Well, he later apologized to us for that, but it was probably somewhere around 38 or 39 pounds.
Wow.
And it was on a mixture of everything. It was like one of those days where we just couldn't do anything wrong. I mean, we caught a fish in the morning on top water. There was one fish caught on a rattle trap, one fish on spinnerbait. The biggest bag that I've actually weighed in was 34 and a half. It was 34, 8 or 9. And it come out of Big Lake Harris on a Carolina rig in 12 foot of water. And since then, we had 4 hurricanes back to back to back, and it covered that shell bar up and killed every mussel on it. I ain't caught a fish off of it since.
Oh, man.
That was a hard breaker. So we caught, but there was 2 boats back then that really fished offshore. It was myself, and at the time I was fishing with Jason McKinney. And then Ricky Bach and Brent Bazinski were fishing together, and it was whoever got the bigger bite that morning. You know, we both have a good fish, but whoever got the 8.2 to 9 pound bite was the one who won. And between the 2 boats, we'd weigh 100 pounds of fish in a weekend.
Man, it's a great day. The
pound for pound, I would put Harris against any lake in the state, and probably 3/4 of the lakes in the nation.
Absolutely, especially in the spring.
Yeah, it's chock full of big fish, and it can be very rewarding. I mean, I've caught I don't know how many I've had over 10, but I know I've caught 2 over 12, and I seen one that I know was well into the teens. And I actually quit fishing the tournament that day and dropped Randy off at the ramp. My wife got in the boat with me, and I actually seen that fish 4 times before the sun went down. She never would commit, and I had to go to work the next day. If I could have got her to commit, I probably took the next day off. But I was told I didn't see the fish. But at the time, the man that was running the tackle shop in DeVary's, I was Harris Chain Tackle. He has since went out of business, but a fella came in the next morning, had one that weighed 15.8, and he caught it on a trick worm just going down that bank in that canal casting that morning. And it was like early February.
Mm-hmm.
And he had the fish in his boat and was looking for a taxidermist.
Wow.
But I was just thrilled to see a fish of that quality.
Yeah.
You know? When you see a fish of that caliber that's alive and a well, and a chain of lakes that you frequent quite a bit, it's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
You don't get to see a fish like that very often.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you had to choose, your favorite, would you rather, if you had all 3 options in a tournament that you could catch a 10 pounder each way, would you prefer to do it bed fishing, sight fishing, on a crankbait in 20 foot of water or dragging a Carolina rig in 12 foot of water on a shell bar?
Probably on a crankbait.
Crankbait?
Yeah, I mean, I like looking at them. But you can do that anytime. You know, in the spring, you can do that anytime,
Yep.
and to get that double digit fish to eat a bait on a shell bar, especially a crankbait or a Carolina rig, is to me, it's a fish of a different caliber,
Right.
because then she's in her right mind, and
And
she's
eating it.
she's not
She's not defensive.
yeah, she's not defending the home. So to me, a fish on a shell bar in June or July
Yep.
would be more rewarding to me than catching one off of a bed.
Right.
But I have caught a 12-pounder off a bed. Broke her off on the first hook set too, by the way. I had 2 rods on the deck. I had one with 50-pound braid, one with 12-pound test, and I said, "Hand me that rod." And he handed me the rod, and I set the hook way too hard for that 12-pound test line.
Well, and you forget about that too. Like I have guys that come in the shop that talk about bed fishing and stuff like that. And during that time of year, and when they're bed fishing, they're using flipping sticks, 7.6 heavies, 7.3 heavies, a heavy action rod. And my question is why?
Yeah, I mean, this fish she was so locked on that when
Yeah.
I broke her off, she actually come off the bed, and we were so close to her, he had let go of the dock, and we were drifting forward, and she actually swam around the shaft of the trolling motor and went right back in the bed. And I said, "Hand me that other rod." And I picked up that braid and pitched that productive
Yep.
worm in there, and she sucked it up. I set the hook. She comes to the top. He netted her. That was it.
Yeah.
You don't need all that backbone.
Well, and I think that's half the reason why some people break off on that stuff. They'll tell you that they broke off. Oh, I was using this with this, but they forget that when you're working a fish, you're not making that like the excitement, the exhilaration, anxiety, whatever else is going on. You go and do that home run hook set because I got her, or you see the fish eat and you really snatch on it, and you end up breaking off because you're only 10 feet from it.
Yeah,
And
I'll tell you about that home run hook set. Last year at Toho,
Mhm.
the only difference between my bag of fish and John Hunter's bag of fish going into the third day was the first day he caught a 6-pounder.
Yeah.
The second day I broke that 6-pounder off because I set the hook way too hard on braid. Watched her eat I was throwing a Scottsdale straight tail shad
Mhm.
as a follow up bait to a Zare spook. She blew up on my bait and missed it. And I followed back up with a Scott Sparrow tackle. And I watched her come off the hydrilla patch and eat that bait, and I jacked her so hard that it broke the 50-pound Power Pro of Suffolk's. Excuse me, it was Suffolk's. And I broke her off on the hook set, and that was the only difference of me cutting a check in 18th place and John Hunter going into the third day leading it.
Wow.
The only difference. And it was 110% my fault.
John's a good guy. I
Know
John
sport.
pretty well. We
Yeah.
we go back and forth all the time on the road.
Oh yeah.
But
He's a
he
sport.
usually calls me when he comes to town. We hang out for a little bit. But I got somebody on TikTok. Let's see, Jason Batten. My uncle took me to 44 Tackle, and I ain't never been to a more awesome place. Thank you. We really appreciate that.
Deborah Banka asked, "Do you fish Lake Pan, and if so, what do you think about it?"
I have never fished Lake Pan.
Oh boy,
I've never fished any of this here.
We got to get you out there.
It's always been the St. Johns River, Kissimmee, Okeechobee, or the Harris Chain, just where the bigger tournaments have been.
I can tell you, Lake Panasoffkee is one to go during the spring.
Yeah,
for sure. When
I've seen a lot of the videos.
They bed everywhere in that lake. It doesn't matter where you go. There could be a fish on a bed, and you can catch them blind or looking at them. But
That's
there's
fun.
just so much grass in that lake, and it's 3 to 5 foot everywhere. And so you just run through, and you can fish offshore. People catch them flipping. You can catch them. That's one of the most shallowest flipping lakes I'd ever, set foot on, because it doesn't, like, when you think of flipping, you're looking for, like, a lot of times 2 foot of water, 3 foot of water, something you can bob a bait up and down with.
Right.
And at that place, the best flipping stuff is sometimes in 6 inches of water.
Looking for the bulge of the mat.
You're not even that. You're looking for, like, it's crazy because, like, you'll catch a big fish at Lake Pan off of a hyacinth or like a little junk mat that's about this big hanging off the end of a tree.
Hmm.
And you flip just onto that mat or next to it, and that's the stuff, like one little green patch of something um hanging 5 feet off the bank, and there'll be a fish under it. And it's crazy because it looks like confidence wise, you're looking at it, you're like, there ain't no fish there.
Yeah.
And it'll surprise you. And I don't know if there's a lot of undercuts under those, like some of those hard lines that really help with that too. But it's because we've got places in like the Floral City, Duval, Lake Duval here, um, that I fish, that some of the banks, if you were to look at them when the water's high, you'd have no clue what's there. It just looks like 2-3 inches of water up on the bank, just steep kind of bank. But there's undercut banks that you can actually take like a Senko or a jig or horny toad or whatever it is and run it down parallel with that bank, and they will come up out from those holes. And what it is they're taking over um,
Catfish holes.
the armored catfish,
Cosmos.
yeah, those.
Yeah.
So they're sitting up in there after they're done spawning because there's these perfectly rounded out holes in the mud banks there.
Hmm.
And so you can run down those canals and it looks like it's dirt shallow, kicking up mud with the trolling motor. There's this big 2-3 foot hole they're just chilling out in.
That
But
sounds like a lot of fun.
yeah, yep, absolutely. But let's see. Michael Purvis says he caught 11.9 on pan in February. That's one thing I'll say about Lake Pan. It's got a lot of big fish, but it does not have a lot of giant fish, like 10 pluses.
Yeah.
You'll see in the tournaments that weigh in, you'll see a lot of 4 to 8 pound class fish weighed in. Big fish is always usually between 8 and 9.5 pounds.
I've been very blessed. You know, the good Lord has blessed me, and I don't know. I don't have an exact number, but I would say I've probably caught 15 to 18 over 10, 2 over 11, and 2 over 12.
Wow.
And only one of those 12s come on a top water bait, and one of them come on off of a pit. One of the 11 pounders come cranking. The other one come on a jig. You know, and it's just a variety. Sometimes I might miss one the entire spring. Like this year, I just about missed the entire spawn.
Yeah.
I had my hip replaced in March, so I'm just about missed the entire spawn. And then I think the biggest fish I've caught this year has been only like 8.5 pounds. But I haven't done a whole bunch of fishing. We've been fishing maybe once or twice a month.
Oh, Dave Cutler's on here. Asked what's up.
Oh, Dave. Best fiberglass man around.
In the world. I've seen him take some messy stuff and put it back together. But he says pay attention to this cat talking about you. But all right, I think it's been a really cool day. Thanks for coming over.
We've had a great time over here today.
We've got the People Fishing Podcast. I'm gonna go ahead and put that up on Tuesday, so look for that. Follow me on Chris Kingree Fishing on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, anywhere. I'll post all the information about that. It'll be coming Tuesday. My episode with Vern. We talked about some really cool stuff. Things that go on in his life on a daily basis, to tournament fishing, to life on the opens, to local Lake Harris knowledge, and maybe a couple secrets about the Harris chain in there. It's going to be a good episode for you guys to catch. Vern's an inspiration to me and a lot of other people, and I'm really, really excited to be able to, have him on our 44 tackle show. Before we sign off, is there any other questions? Anybody looking to find out anything? Anybody that just logged on, possibly? Make sure to shoot those in. We'll hang out another couple minutes here, and then we'll go and wind down. In the meantime, make sure to follow us at 44 Tackle. Follow Chris Kingree Fishing, and also Vern on Facebook, Vernon Kemp. And we've got Hunter back here. Hunter, are you ready to go to New York or what?
I'm always ready for New York.
You better be pumped to go to New York.
I'm always ready for New York.
Man, I wish I was going.
It's a special place.
You ain't lying.
It's a special place. Those brown fish are pretty addicting.
Yeah, we're getting ready to go to
Wait,
ICAST next week.
just wait till you dip in the St. Lawrence, buddy. You just thought Champlain and Oneida was special. The St. Lawrence is special.
Man, I went to Oneida last time. Only caught largemouth.
Well, something wrong with you then.
Oh man, but yeah, no, we've got ICAST. We got a busy next couple weeks here. We may or may not have to do this. We'll try to do the show for next week. We may have to do it Thursday night. Or Thursday. I don't know. We got a big schedule, so we'll try to do something. We may do it from ICAST on Thursday. That might be something special too.
Y'all might see a lot new backgrounds, like the deck of the boat, hotel parking lots.
Yeah, yeah. Actually,
cool.
The hotel room.
Actually, you know what? We should probably do that every day at ICAST, whether it's during the day or whatever. Maybe we'll pop in on live. So make sure to follow us, on TikTok or on, TikTok will probably be the easiest to see a bunch of things that are going up, as well as Instagram. Check out our Instagram and Facebook stories on 44 Tackle. And then also on our personal pages, Chris Kingree Fishing and Hunter Bland Fishing. We'll have a lot of cool content going up next week for ICAST, I'm sure.
I think y'all should take it on the road.
We will. We'll take it all the way to New York.
Absolutely.
For sure. We will be able to do it the Friday night for sure. That we're on the road, because we'll hopefully know if somebody's fishing on Saturday or not. So that's always a good thing. We're either going to be drowning our sorrows Friday night or playing the happy dance and planning on spending a couple days at the St. Lawrence and taking our time coming home. But if we don't have anything else going on Instagram or anything like that, I think we've had a great show. Thanks for coming again, Vern.
Appreciate
I can't thank you enough for hanging out with us
Enjoy
tonight.
the day.
And hopefully build and eat all our corn dogs and ice cream sandwiches we got in the fridge.
I've stopped three times on the way home.
He said Dawson ate all the ice cream, so I don't know about that. We're gonna have to go.
I don't believe that.
investigate this.
Dawson eats ice cream.
We should have weighed
but
Bill
he's not
when he
that-
got here, and then weighed him when he left.
See, then we would really know.
You'll get them
for sure.
spinner baits out of your pockets.
Yeah, make sure we need to pat him down on the way out. So
He's
But-
had the whole store out there to himself. So there ain't no
Dawson's
telling.
out there, right?
Well, yeah, but he's got Dawson tied up in the ice cream sandwiches, apparently.
All right, guys. We appreciate everything. Once again, follow us, and we'll hopefully see you next week at ICAST. So make sure to follow along and follow us at Chris Kingree Fishing, 44 Tackle, and Hunter Bland Fishing, and we will make sure to keep you posted on all the newest tackle at ICAST next week. Thanks a lot, guys.